The ghost town of Dry Hollow sat in the heart of a vast, empty desert. Once a lively place filled with laughter, the echoes of its past now lingered like shadows between crumbling buildings. Dusty streets wound through dilapidated storefronts and homes, their doors swinging softly in the wind. Cacti dotted the landscape, reaching toward the brilliant blue sky, while the only sounds were the whispers of the breeze and the distant call of a crow. Years ago, this town had been a thriving community where families gathered for celebrations and neighbors shared stories under starlit skies. But after a series of mysterious events, rumors of bandits and disputes, the life faded from Dry Hollow, leaving behind an eerie quiet. Its few remaining inhabitants often spoke in hushed tones about what had happened to make everyone leave. On this particular afternoon, a golden sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows on the remnants of what once was. As the townsfolk went about their daily routines, they noticed something unusual. A new wanted poster affixed to the weathered bulletin board outside Sal's general store. Curiosity piqued. They gathered closer to see who, or what, had sparked this unexpected addition. What they found made their hearts race. A familiar name stared back at them. It was Sheriff Dawson's name, once a symbol of safety and courage, now tarnished by mystery and confusion. How could this be? The town murmured as questions filled the air. What had happened to their sheriff? And why had he suddenly become wanted? As the townsfolk crowded around the weathered bulletin board, a mix of disbelief and concern washed over them. The sun glinted off the paper of the wanted poster, the ink still dark and fresh against its tattered edges. Sheriff Dawson's face was sketched in somber detail, his once kind eyes now haunting, as if they carried the weight of unspoken secrets. "Who would have done this?" murmured Clara, her voice trembling. A ripple of speculation ran through the group. Some recalled tales of Sheriff Dawson bravely defending the town against bandits, while others whispered about a dark incident that had caused him to vanish years ago. The poster seemed to embody everything they feared and wondered about their lost sheriff. Amid the chatter, old Mr. Jenkins stepped forward, adjusting his spectacles. "What we need is to find out why he's wanted," he declared, his tone firm yet anxious. The thought that their protector could be a fugitive sent shivers down their spines. Determined to uncover the truth, Clara suggested they gather at Sal's general store later that evening to discuss their next steps. "We owe it to him," she insisted, her voice steadying with resolve. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across Dry Hollow, a sense of urgency filled the air. The ghost town held its breath, and with it came a promise. They would not rest until they unraveled the mystery behind Sheriff Dawson's name on that poster. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over Dry Hollow, the townsfolk gathered in Sal's general store. Clara stood at the front, ready to lead the discussion about Sheriff Dawson. She began by telling the story of their sheriff, a man known for his bravery and kind heart. Sheriff Dawson had come to Dry Hollow during its early days, when the town was bustling with activity. He quickly earned the trust of its residents with his fair judgment and willingness to protect them from any threat. Tales circulated about his daring standoffs with bandits who tried to rob the town's bank, and how he would ride through the desert at night, ensuring everyone felt safe. Families felt secure knowing he was watching over them. But one fateful night changed everything. A mysterious robbery occurred at the town's gold mine, and evidence pointed toward Sheriff Dawson being involved. Whispers of betrayal spread like wildfire, causing fear and confusion among the townsfolk. Then, without a word, he vanished into thin air, leaving behind an empty sheriff's office and a community shattered by doubt. As Clara spoke, she could see that old memories stirred deep emotions in her neighbors. They remembered how they had once cheered for their sheriff and how he had become part of their lives. Now, they faced a new challenge: how to reconcile those cherished memories with this shocking accusation hanging over him like a dark cloud. As Clara's words hung heavy in the air, the townsfolk reacted with a mix of emotions. Some gazed at the floor, their brows furrowed in thought, while others exchanged anxious glances filled with uncertainty. The haunting news of Sheriff Dawson's wanted poster stirred a storm of feelings that were hard to ignore. Maggie, who had lived in Dry Hollow her entire life, was the first to break the silence. "I can't believe it," she whispered, her voice shaky. "The sheriff always protected us. How could we think he might be guilty?" A chorus of agreement followed, though the unease remained palpable. Old Mr. Jenkins shook his head gravely, trying to anchor the conversation. "We can't let our memories cloud our judgment. Evidence doesn't lie," he insisted, though a flicker of doubt crossed his face. The group fell into hushed debates. Some recalled the sheriff's brave acts, while others couldn't shake off the thought that perhaps they had misjudged him all along. As tension mounted, Clara tried to rally them with a hopeful suggestion. "What if we found proof that he didn't do it? We should investigate." The idea sparked a flicker of enthusiasm among a few, but others remained hesitant. Finally, Clara stood firm. "If we want our sheriff back, we must uncover the truth together." Her confidence seemed to ignite a flicker of unity. As they discussed plans and formed small groups to search for clues, a shared determination began to rise, transforming their fear into purpose. As the meeting in Sal's general store concluded, excitement filled the air. Clara coordinated small teams, assigning tasks to each group while keeping everyone's spirits high. "Let's split up and search for anything that might lead us to the truth about Sheriff Dawson," she declared, her eyes shining with determination. One group, led by Maggie and old Mr. Jenkins, decided to search the sheriff's old office. "There might be clues in his personal effects or old case files," Maggie suggested. They rummaged through dusty drawers and musty documents, searching for any sign that could exonerate him. Meanwhile, another team ventured to the abandoned gold mine, where the robbery had taken place. Clara felt a thrill in her chest as she thought of the potential discoveries waiting beyond the worn-out entrance. On their way to the mine, Clara could see the group buzz with nervous energy. "We're doing this for him," she reminded them, hoping to bolster resolve as they approached the shadowy entrance. They could hear the faint echo of dripping water within as they stepped inside, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. Exhausted but motivated, everyone examined their surroundings carefully. Clara noticed a small, crumpled note wedged between two rocks on the ground. With a racing heart, she picked it up and began to read aloud. Its message hinted at an unknown secret related to the robbery. Taking a deep breath, Clara realized they were one step closer to uncovering the truth about Sheriff Dawson and clearing his name. Clara held the crumpled note tightly, her heart racing as she read the words aloud to the group. It spoke of a hidden stash of gold from the mine that had never been recovered and suggested that someone had framed Sheriff Dawson to cover up their own crime. Excitement buzzed through the air as everyone absorbed this new information. "This could be it," Maggie exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with hope. Determined to follow up on the clues, Clara gathered everyone around to brainstorm their next steps. "If we can find this hidden stash, it might prove his innocence," she said, pointing out that they needed to retrace Dawson's last known movements. The townsfolk agreed to split their focus. Some would continue searching for more clues in the mine, while others would investigate old town records for any mention of missing gold or suspicious activity around the time of the robbery. As they searched, Clara's group stumbled upon an old ledger in the dusty office, its pages worn but still legible. The entries detailed transactions at the gold mine and included mentions of a mysterious figure who had appeared just before Dawson's disappearance. Meanwhile, in the mine, Maggie and Mr. Jenkins uncovered a hidden tunnel that led deeper into the darkness. With each new clue, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place, igniting a flicker of hope within Dry Hollow. They were starting to uncover not just secrets about Sheriff Dawson, but also about those who sought to tarnish his name for their own gain. As Clara and her group continued their search in the mine, the air grew cooler and the darkness deepened around them. Flickering flashlight beams danced on the walls, creating shadows that seemed to whisper secrets of the past. Just when they thought they were alone, a sudden noise echoed through the tunnel, a soft rustling that sent shivers down Clara's spine. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, her heart racing. The group paused, straining to listen. Moments later, a figure emerged from the shadows, causing everyone to jump back in surprise. It was a tall man, rugged and wearing a weathered hat that obscured most of his face. Clara felt a mix of fear and curiosity. "Who are you?" she asked, trying to sound brave despite the trepidation in her voice. The stranger stepped closer, revealing piercing blue eyes that seemed to search each person before him. "I'm looking for Sheriff Dawson," he said calmly but with an air of urgency. Murmurs rippled through the group. They had never seen this man before. "I have information that could help clear his name," he continued, glancing around nervously as if he feared being overheard. Clara's instinct kicked in. She sensed this man could be crucial to their investigation. "We've been trying to find him," she replied, urgency lacing her words. As the group gathered around him, he began to share details about the robbery and hints about someone who wanted Dawson out of the way. Someone from within Dry Hollow itself. The tension thickened in the air as they realized they were on the brink of uncovering a dangerous conspiracy. The mysterious stranger took a deep breath, his piercing blue eyes scanning the group as they gathered around him in the dimly lit mine. "You need to understand the truth about that night," he began, his voice steady but intense. "Sheriff Dawson didn't rob the mine. He was set up by someone who knew him well." Clara's heart raced as she listened intently. "What do you mean?" she asked, hanging on his every word. "The robbery was orchestrated by a man named Silas Reed, a former friend of the sheriff," he explained. "Reed was jealous of Dawson's popularity and position in the town. He planted evidence to frame him, knowing it would drive a wedge between Dawson and the townsfolk. The revelation stunned the group into silence. "But why did he disappear?" Maggie asked quietly, still processing the weight of this new information. "Dawson knew he was being hunted," the stranger replied. "Rather than face a trial based on false accusations, he went into hiding to gather proof of his innocence." He then handed Clara an old photograph showing Sheriff Dawson with a group of men, one of whom was unmistakably Silas Reed. In that moment, everything clicked for Clara. The betrayal ran deeper than she had imagined. With renewed determination, Clara turned to her friends. "We need to find Silas. He holds the key to uncovering this conspiracy." As they made their way out of the mine and into the fading light, the path ahead seemed clearer. Not only would they find Sheriff Dawson, but they would expose the true villain behind the shadows of Dry Hollow. As the group exited the mine, Clara felt an overwhelming sense of purpose. They had all the pieces they needed to clear Sheriff Dawson's name, but now it was time to act decisively. "We can't waste any more time," she said, rallying her friends. "Finding Silas Reed is our priority." The townsfolk nodded in agreement, and Clara could see determination in their eyes. Maggie suggested they divide their efforts. Some could spread out to search for more information about Silas's whereabouts while others could gather any remaining evidence that might solidify their case against him. They agreed to meet back at Sal's general store later that day to share updates. As everyone began to disperse with a renewed sense of hope, Clara glanced back at the mine one last time. It was a place filled with secrets, but now it also represented a turning point for their small community. With confidence surging through her, Clara led her team toward town, where they would interview old residents who might know where Silas had gone after Dawson's disappearance. "We need witnesses who can confirm Reed's involvement," she urged, recalling the fear and anger that once plagued the town. As they spoke with various townsfolk throughout Dry Hollow, Clara carefully gathered stories and hints about Silas's past actions. The resolve to bring Sheriff Dawson back and expose the real villain ignited a fire within them all. They were ready to face the truth, even if it meant confronting the darkness that lay ahead. Together, they would fight for justice and restore hope in their beloved town. After days of relentless searching and gathering evidence, the townsfolk of Dry Hollow finally tracked down Silas Reed. He was hiding in a distant shack on the outskirts of town, a shadow of the man he once was. Clara led her friends to confront him, her heart pounding with anticipation and dread. The moment they arrived, she felt an air of finality. This was it, the moment they could unveil the truth. As they stepped into the dimly lit shack, Clara spoke with conviction. "We know what you did, Silas. You framed Sheriff Dawson to cover up your own crimes. It's time to tell the truth." Silas shifted uncomfortably, his eyes darting around as if seeking a way out. Realizing he had nowhere to hide, he reluctantly confessed. I did it because I couldn't stand seeing him praised while I was forgotten. But I never meant for things to get this far. The weight of his words hung in the air as Clara and the townsfolk listened intently. With his confession in hand and evidence gathered from their investigations, the group returned to Dry Hollow as champions. They shared the truth with everyone, explaining how Sheriff Dawson had been wrongfully accused and how Silas had plotted against him out of jealousy. When Sheriff Dawson finally returned to town, relieved after hearing the news, tears of joy filled Clara's eyes. The townsfolk welcomed him back with open arms and celebrations erupted throughout Dry Hollow. The bond between them strengthened by the ordeal now stood firm, trust restored and shadows lifted, ensuring that their community would never forget the power of unity in overcoming darkness.